Amanda Iheme is my guest today, and I've known Amanda since I moved to Lagos. When I used to engage with my friends, a product she created called Words is Therapy. And since then, I've engaged her work as a photographer and seen her build the mental health haven called Undidi. So I'm really excited about the conversation we have about Lagos, mental health, art, and building a life that you'll be truly proud of. My name is Desmond, and this is the Good News Niger podcast. We'll celebrate Nigerians who are doing exceedingly great things and making global waves. And I'm really excited about the chat I had with Amanda Iheme, and I know you'd enjoy it. So watch. So I did accuse one of my friends who is also a clinical psychologist of therapizing the situation. Do you think?
I don't.
Have you been accused of that?
Yes, and sometimes it's very unfair. Because sometimes I was telling my friend yesterday, a couple of days ago, that one thing I don't like is how I'll go out and I'll meet people and I'll be like, oh, how are you doing? And then you just give me this look as if I just asked them about the entire life. I'm like, you can just tell me that you're fine. I really am not trying to be a therapist. I don't like when people call me their therapist when I'm not their therapist. If you've never had a therapeutic conversation, or you've never signed a registration form contract that I'm your therapist, I'm not your therapist. I'm not your therapist. Because to say that I'm a therapist means that I know you. Like it's an actual relationship. So, yeah. But I have people who are just like, oh, I'm not a therapist.
But people who claim to be your friends, don't they enjoy some of those privileges where they access Amanda the friend who gives great advice based on, okay, I love them and see this person as my friend.
Yeah.
And Amanda the clinical psychologist.
My friends don't see me as a clinical psychologist, they just see me as a friend.
Why? You don't come with any deep, clear...
Nope. I tell even my clients when we start therapy, I always have this section, first session that we have, where I tell you what it's like to have therapy with me. And what I always tell them at the beginning is, I'm your therapist, I'm not your friend. And I'm only a therapist Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Any day, anyone outside that, I'm not a therapist. I can't be using that side of my brain every second of the day, no. Because for me to be your therapist, I really have to be very, very curious about what is going on in your life. I need to ask questions. I'm exploring and seeking an answer. I don't care about people that much to care to ask those questions. So.
But then how are you able to do it?
Boundaries. Like I know when I'm a therapist and I know when I'm not. So I've learned as well what are the leading questions that take me into that place where I start to therapize. And then I stay away from asking those questions. So I don't go deep into people's lives if I don't want to. Except when I do have, there are some times when I meet people, they might be strangers, they might also be people I know, people I work with, and I'm quite concerned about their well-being. And then I'll ask them and I'll let them know, like, I'm actually asking you as a therapist, what's your friend now? Are you doing okay? And do you want to talk? And then I tell you, like, I'm going to put my therapist cap on so that I can help you. But if it's not that, I'm not a therapist. And with my friends as well, I don't go into situations to try to solve their problems, except they're asking for me. So sometimes my friends want me to be a therapist, they're going to ask me, from your perspective as a therapist, what do you think? So that I can tell them that. Sometimes I also say, like, as your friend, this is what I think. As a therapist, this is what I think. So I always try to make that distinction to let people know there's a difference between who I am professionally and who I am personally. Of course, the person I am as a human being is what makes me a good therapist, but I'm not always practicing as I'm walking through life.
This question I want to ask is about engaging the Nigerian people. You're Nigerian, you engaging the Nigerian people.
Yeah.
Both as a person and as a therapist.
Yeah.
What excites you the most about Nigerians?
The newness of it. Nigerians are not familiar with delving into the deepest parts of their lives. And when they do that, it's just very exciting. When they say, like, I've never thought about this before, or they learn new ways of coping with things, it's always very exciting. And then to see how it affects like other aspects of their lives. There are friends of mine who I know that are like people you see on TV and people that you watch and people that you see like in your environment. They might not be famous, but they are known. And I see things like we've talked about and how that impacts really create their work. Of course, it's only just me and them that know, and I have this warmth in my heart. So I'm just like, okay, I know where that's from. I know where that is. So you're learning and you're practicing the things that you're learning in therapy, and I love to see that. So the newness of it, seeing people come in, try therapy for the first time. When we're starting therapy, I always ask people like, "It's your first time?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, welcome to therapy." So the newness of it is very exciting.
Is it different from older people and newer people, like younger people?
No.
So do you see a lot more older people accessing therapy now?
Yes.
What do you think that is?
Kids are referring to their parents' therapy. Yeah. A lot of kids.
We used to have that conversation, man.
A lot of people are, yeah. People from like, my child said, my daughter said I should. And it's usually the female child that's always telling their parents to come to therapy, or paying for their parents to come to therapy, or carrying their parents to come to therapy. Yeah.
Whoa.
So,
If I was a parent, I feel like I'm supposed to be perfect. What do you think?
yeah.
So is therapy supposed to come from a place of, do you have to, when do you think that a person should seek therapy? Or whatever?
Whatever. Honestly, even if you think you're doing okay, just come for therapy. I tell people sometimes just come out of curiosity. I used to work for a company a couple of years ago, because I'd come into their office every Friday and the staff would come to see me. I'd just be sitting in my office. There were some people who came in simply because they had never been to therapy before. They just wanted to know what it was like. That's a good enough reason to come to therapy. If you've never been there before, just come. Come have a conversation. It doesn't always have to be about your mental health. Sometimes I have conversations with clients about philosophy. I have conversations about spirituality. I have conversations about money, business, relationships. It's not always for the treatment. Some people just want a different perspective to a problem that they're experiencing in their life. Some people just want to see, okay, what will you find out about me from this conversation that we're having? If I delved into the recesses of my mind with you, what will come out of it?
So let's go more into the professionality.
Okay.
The professional parts of you, which is, I've always been intrigued by the health facility you've built in, which is Undidi.
Yeah.
How did you come about that?
The name?
The name.
It's a very funny story. So I was working as a lawyer at the time, and it was February 2017, and I was feeling a deep sense of unfulfillment. I have a master's degree. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I wasn't happy at my job. And I wanted to do something meaningful and purposeful with my life. Like I wanted a sense of direction. I was also volunteering with the Start to End organization as a counselor. And I was helping people. So one day I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start my own practice. I have the experience. I had also at the time tried to find therapy, but there was a kind of therapy I was looking for that wasn't available. So in my business mind, there's a market for it. I have the skill for it. I have the certificate. Let me try it. And at the time in Nigeria, there wasn't really like a governing body that could really say, okay, you have a license to practice. It was like an open market. So I went in. I was trying to find a name. I'm very Igbo. So anything I do would be Igbo related. So I tried to use my name, Adanze, Iheme. It wasn't working. It wasn't clicking. Then I started to think of all the names that people had called me when I was growing up. And I had an uncle who used to call me Ndidi. Please keep that in mind. He's called me Ndidi. And I said, you know what? Ndidi means patience. And in therapy, you need a lot of patience with yourself, with the journey of becoming who you are. Ndidi's the name. A couple of years later, I think like last year or so, I asked my dad, I was like, why did Uncle Martin used to call me Ndidi? He said Ndidi. He never called you Ndidi. I said, what? He said, no, he used to call you Ndidi. He was saying you are one of us. I said, wow, I named my entire practice off of this idea that he was calling me Ndidi. He said, no, it was Ndidi, that you mistook it. He was just saying that you are our person. This is our person.
Which still makes sense.
Yes, it does. So The name came out of a misunderstanding I had as a child, but it's a beautiful name that has lasted and transcended so many spaces. So I love it.
The first time I engaged with you,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
was at Words of Therapy at the Silverbird Gallery.
Yeah.
And it was such so because I had just moved from Benin. It was I was just coasting in Lagos. I had a job.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few friends that I made in Lagos when I was volunteering with the Mentally Aware initiative. So we were very excited to just come and learn and just unburden every once. I think it was twice a month or something.
It was once a month.
Once a month, and we always looked forward to it. And then it stopped.
I know.
Why?
COVID.
One. Number two would be, why don't we have a lot of time? Because I do not. Last year I did go for some form of therapy because it was free, but then now thinking it was paid for by the organization I was working for. So if you think about it, it was free, but then I did go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that also did count as therapy because you would put down a topic, maybe like parenthood, and then it would unravel a lot of our different experiences, and then we're able to like make better choices for ourselves or make sense of why we are the way we are.
Yeah.
So why do you think in Lagos there are not a lot of them?
So why did Words as Therapy stop? It was COVID, because we had a good run. It was COVID, and then at the same time, I think that me and William, because William and I were at the same time, our lives were going in different directions. And for me, I was building media at the time, and I really wanted it to become something greater than me. And it was taking a lot of my time, and I needed a lot more support. We had talked about getting volunteers. So the idea of building something whilst building another thing, it was just too much. It was way too much for me to carry. So COVID happened, and it was just like a good time to take a step back from it and just be like, oh, I can't do Words as Therapy anymore. I need to focus on NTD because it really does need my time. And then at the same time, why we don't have a lot of that in Lagos is there's just something about that pre-COVID era. I just can't put my finger on it. People were just very willing to be vulnerable, to be open. They wanted to, there was this sense of community that was growing. And there were spaces. The spaces were more willing, people were more willing to open up their doors for people to come in and create things. These days, that doesn't happen. If you're not giving money, no one wants to, give you their space for free, because we were using the revolving art incubator for free. It was someone who believed in our idea and thought it was an amazing thing we were doing, and said, come, use the space, be a part of our story. But these days now, everything is a bit more capitalist. If we're not getting any financial reward from it, we're not doing it. So there are not a lot of spaces that believe in these ideas that would give us that leeway. And with how difficult the economy is now, transportation does limit people's abilities to move. Back then, it wasn't that costly to move around. I know even though we didn't have money, but we were not suffering.
Remember carpooling?
Yeah, and typically it's people coming after work on the island. And back then, you had to be at the office. The concept of hybrid working was not a thing. So you had to be at the office. So it was 6 p.m. As soon as you're done at work, to wait out the traffic. When Lagos used to have really bad traffic, why wait out the traffic when at a bar, when you can just come listen to some poetry and then talk about your wellness and mental health and that. So it felt right. It was just the right time for it. But now, many of us are working from home, and transportation is not that accessible because of the financial constraints. People are not really moving around a lot, and people tend to want more virtual things than physical things. So, and there are not a lot of spaces that allow for these kinds of things that are not transactional. So I think these are the factors that have sort of created that. And Nigerians, if you try to bring them together to talk about mental health, you wouldn't get that many of them. If you tell them to come and jai, they'll come outside.
So how did it make you feel stopping something that important? Because we still have a WhatsApp group. I mean, myself, Larry, Tosin, a number of people that I met there. Some of them are now in the UK, but then we have a WhatsApp group that we still reference to be like,
What's that therapy?
This was such a great
I
time.
met so much, even after 2021, people were like, Amanda, when I really was this therapy, people were asking.
It's 2024.
I know, people were asking. And even till today, what's that therapy remains a big lesson in my life because I underestimate how many people's lives have been touched. People like, oh, I met you. What's this therapy? Like till today, do you remember what's this therapy? Do you remember? I met you. What's this therapy? Yes, yes. There's so many people. It was such a nice bonding environment. And I think a lot of people that attended were just coming into Lagos at that time. And it was a community for them. It was like the first place they were able to meet people and get to make friends and build a connection. And it was good for artists as well. So artists who were trying to like build their career got a chance to meet other artists. So it was a wonderful environment. I still have, how was therapy? You'd write on paper, I have everything. I have everything. Everybody's paper. When I was moving to Ibadan, I was cleaning up my room. A part of me just said, Amanda, maybe it's time to toss these things away. And another part was like, you and Miriam did think about doing an exhibition of community people's words. And I was like, but this is many years ago, this is even so much, I don't know. So it's somewhere in my house in a box. I always kept it. I don't know why, but I always kept it. And letting go of voices therapy, at the time for me, it just felt right. I felt like I had outgrown it. I tried to bring it back sometimes, but it's just not the same. But what I've done with it is I've decided to make it evolve into something else, which is why I created my newsletter and podcast called Life Shit. So I write, and then I have a podcast. I record. I haven't recorded anything this year. I'm more of a writer than a speaker. And my plan is to transition that into like a physical environment where I can gather people together and we can have that same ones as therapy dynamic, but now it just has a different name. So there's a part of me that still wants to create that community of people who want to come and talk about their well-being and wellness, but it's going to take a bit of time for me to do that because, doing other things as well.
Yeah, so Marta and the Future Awards definitely has seen, they've not caught on to the things that we've experienced over the years, and now naming you one of the pioneers that have pushed the wellness industry here. Because when I was reading, Marta had listed you as one of the pioneers for in the wellness industry in Nigeria. The Future Awards as well has also nominated you for a second time.
Yes.
How much importance do you put in those things for your work?
Quite a lot, really, because I work hard. I work really hard. My team works really hard. So there was a time when I felt like if you were not a tech founder, people were not going to regard you. Honestly, because it seemed like the only people that they were giving recognition for their work were people who were doing work in fintech or, some kind of tech. But I'm like, there are so many of us who are still founders. We founded things that are significant and also effective. And as much as I'm the type of person that would sort of celebrate my own work on my own, I wanted the world to also tell me that this thing that you're doing, we're seeing the impact and we're grateful because we worked really hard to build this from 2017 up until now. It's been years, we've touched lives, and I meet people who be like, oh, MDD, if that's something you put on Instagram, or coming in for therapy, or what's therapy, like, I deserve recognition too. And I don't think anybody who works hard doesn't want recognition for their hard work. So I put a bit of weight on that. When Marika did call me a pioneer, I was like, there are other therapists too. Like, there are other clinical psychologists on whose backs I have come up, like Dr. Mimuna, Dr. Mayan Dupo, and I give them their credits because it was because they existed that I'm able to exist. If they didn't pave the way for me. So when you said pioneer, I was like, pioneer, but I'll take it. Okay. I'll take it. But being nominated for the award was a good time for me. And more so now, it's more for my team, how much more than it is for me, to be able to tell them that every morning when you come here, you're working, you're offering therapy, you're providing support, the world sees you. That's one reason why I want to win the Future Award. It's just to take it to my team and tell them that, see people, you're working and they are seeing your work. I know it's my face that is there, but there's no entity without you. Like, there's no entity without any of you that have been here or that have come before. And I want this to just be a way for me to even see the world sees your work and I see you too. And I'm thankful to you for what you've done. So it's a recognition of the effort we put in because we work really hard, and I'm grateful for it. I really am.
Before this interview, I did a lot of watching and reading about you. And then I came across something that I read when you finished your, I think it was your master's degree at Swansea. You felt you had no prospect.
Yes.
How do you move from somebody who had zero prospects to the person who now, on some days you're doing photography, because I know the photography side of you, on some days that you're also doing therapy and also helping people. And how do you move from that person to who felt they had no prospects to somebody who is sure that this is what they're supposed to do?
It's because even though I had no prospects, I did not believe in myself. There's something I read, Irene from Big Brother Irene, like she has this newsletter. She called it radical faith. I don't remember the word, but it's just this belief in yourself where it's like nobody else can see it, but you just know it. And for me, I just believe in my capacity to do things. I've always been a doer. Even before my master's degree, I've always been the type of person that said, if I wanted something, I was going to go do it. I was going to find a way to make it happen. So I believed in my capacity to do. So even when I didn't have any prospects, it didn't mean I didn't have a direction. I knew where I wanted to go. I had just reached like a roadblock where I needed to divert. So delay is not denial. Sometimes it's redirection. So at that time when I finished my degree, I applied for a PhD, everything failed. I was working at the Nigerian breweries and I was doing that as an intern. I was going to go into HR after a while. They said your internship is over. That was it. I didn't have anything. I didn't know what direction to go. Absolutely nothing. I picked up my camera again and said, let me try another path. So I'm always a person that will try. If something doesn't work, it doesn't mean that the door is shut for me forever. It just means I just have to try something else. It's something that I just try. And that's the thing that's kept me going. Even in business, like if I try a path, it doesn't work, I'll just find another avenue to go. So that can-do spirit, like I believe in myself. I believe in myself so much. Yeah.
When does it become delusion? Disbelief. And I'm just being honest. Because as young people, when I was moving from Benin City, it felt like a wild delusion because there was a safety net. You could work with the government, you could go work at the university campus in Benin or something. Something family. But then, not saying, I want to go and become a radio presenter in Lagos. It felt like delusion. So when does it ever become delusion, or there's something like radical belief in yourself?
I think there's something like a radical belief in yourself because, and I experienced this most with when I was building with Didi, because there were times when I was like, Amanda, why do you think this is going to work? Like nobody else believed it was going to work. My father was like, how are you going to build this practice? You don't even have a PhD. Like, what are you going to do? My junior brother also asked me the same question, like, how are you going to build this thing? And I just realized, like, the thing about building something and believing is that you have to believe in yourself, even if everybody doesn't believe in you. Even when you can't even see where you're going, you just have to trust in the content of what you're doing. And that was what I believed in the most. The fact that I had gone to therapy and the type of therapy I was looking for was not available, but it was needed. I believe so much that Nigerians needed therapy. One of my greatest influences is Diana Vreeland. And there is something that she said. She was a Vogue editor many years ago. And she says, give people what they don't know that they need yet. And that was one thing I believed in so much, that Nigerians need therapy. They desperately need it, but they don't know that they need it. I know they need it. I'm going to give it to them. I believed in the market. I believed there was a need for what I was doing. I just needed to figure out how to connect what I was going to offer with the people that needed it to get. So that was the thing that I believed in, the content of what I was doing. It becomes delusional when, as much as there is that radical belief, there's also reality. When you don't pair the reality with it, then you're just being delusional. So I always bring myself to the reality. Like, okay, I have this big dream, but what is the realistic way to achieve this? That always keeps me grounded. Because sometimes you can be a dreamer, but then being a doer, you have to know what it actually takes to do the things you want to do. So when there is the balance between realistic and the dream are not matching. You're like, oh, I want to make 1 million in 10 years, but you're not putting the steps in to do that, then you're just being delusional. And also, if you're just talking all the time and you're not doing anything, then that's just being delusional. So you have to pair the big dream with the active work that you're doing.
So, something that you did say when you were answering this was the role of the parents and even the people close to you, your younger brother. So we see a lot of young people who have this great ambition, but that they're mostly held back because of the words and the affirmations that they need from these people that they care the most for.
Yeah.
How do you advise? How did you break because these words are important because they are some of the people that have formed your ideas of some themes and all of that, even though we try to break away from some of those themes. But you raise the opinions. How did you break away from these opinions and expectations? And how do you advise that other people break away from these expectations and focus on themselves and radical belief in their dreams?
It can be quite difficult, to when you're surrounded by naysayers. And it's not that my parents and my siblings were naysayers. They were just concerned, It's like when you tell someone you want to move from Benin to Lagos, they're just like, hey, are you sure? So it was like that. It was like they're concerned, like, how are you going to do this thing that you want to do? But what I did at the time was that I went where I was appreciated and supported. So at the time, there was this cafe called Cafe Leo. It was on Agorodion in Adiola Deco. And many of the your founders from today, your tech girls, this was our meeting point. That was where we'd go to and sit down, the big dreamers. That's where we go have coffee, we talk. And I got a chance to meet so many different people. I got a chance to meet people who were dreamers just like I was. And just knowing that there were other people like me and going there frequently really helped a lot to keep me going all the time. So I constantly surrounded myself with people who believed in what I was doing and who were walking the same path that I was. It was during this time that I met Victor, that's the founder of Money. And I remember he and I would have conversations together when I have doubts, when I have questions about how do I do this, who do I reach out to, how do I talk about this, how do I connect with this person. Victor was always just there to listen. So even Ayodeji from Stare as well, we're very supportive of each other. So I always surrounded myself with people who believed in what I was doing and put myself in environments where people would lift you up or people who had the same vision as you were walking down that same path. So if the people around you in your immediate environment are like naysayers or questioners or people who just like are so concerned that their concern can sometimes be very overwhelming, that it becomes fear, remove yourself from that space. Even if that's where you have to go back home to, it doesn't have to be where you spend your day to work. Work in a place where people believe in your dreams and then go home. Eventually, those people who are questioning you will catch up. I'm not worried about them. My family had their concerns, but now they believe so much in me right now because they're like, okay, she wasn't just talking, she was really doing something like, wow, okay, this babe not joking, So eventually people will catch up because sometimes it's just fear because they love you and they don't want you to do something that might not work out. But like I said, you need to believe in yourself even when other people don't see the possibility of what you're doing.
Moving from Lagos to Ibadan. You randomly just said it. you dropped it. You dropped it there. I'm pretending as if we were not listening. How do you navigate the fear of moving from a big city to a city like Ibadan? How do you advise it?
How do I navigate the fear? I'm still scared. I'm not even lying to you.
So we shouldn't go.
Family house. No, I found the house. I paid my rent. I shot to Lagos, Ibadan. But I'm still scared. I mean, I just moved. I got my house in August, September. It's just a month. I'm still scared. But the thing is, I have a different relationship with fear. I don't see fear as a thing that paralyzes me. I just see it as a sign that, okay, there are some concerns that need to be addressed. I will talk about what I'm afraid of. I will speak about it. I will wail. I will go to therapy, everything. But I'll do what I need to do. Fear doesn't paralyze me. It just tells me to be more concerned and to take better care of myself and to be intentional about what I'm doing. I only see it as an arrow. I don't see it as a block or a bridge. So I'm still scared. I'm still finding my footing. I'm still learning about living in my environment. I'm still sort of, my nervous system is still trying to balance because when you leave Lagos and go somewhere quiet, it's insane. Like silence can be maddening. And in Ibadan, everything shuts down by like 9. Yeah, I'm not even joking. Like supermarkets, big stores, like once it's 9 o'clock, people are home. What are you doing outside? So when I'm out in Ibadan, if I want to buy something at 9, 7 p.m., I'm going to the store, rushing to get things like, okay, what do I need? What do I need? Because I know once it's 9, people have closed their shop. Nobody's outside with you. Except maybe like in busy areas, you might find in stores. But again, Ibadan is big. So going from point A to point B is a 15-minute, 20-minute drive. It's not like Lagos where, you can do 20 minutes from island to mainland. It's not like that in Ibadan. Ibadan is English. It's English, very big. So I'm scared. I'm still scared, but I do things afraid because I've learned, this has come from running a business. I've learned that on the other side of fear is the thing that you want the most. So I don't let fear paralyze me. I know why I was moving to Ibadan. And like I said before with MDG about that radical belief, believing in the content of what it is you're doing. I believe so much that moving out of Lagos was going to be the best thing for me to do. And I knew my reasons why. If you ask me, I'll tell you. Like, first, my mental health. I had exhausted Lagos. I was born, I was raised here. I didn't spend every single day of my life here because my family moved. I did Kaduna, Ota, Enugu. I did my school in Ghana, went to Wales. Also served in Ibadan as well. So I've lived around a bit. But Lagos has always been my base. So I've squeezed Lagos for everything that it can offer me. And right now, Lagos offers me a job and money, but it's not a place I want to live. When I think about the kind of life I want for myself at this stage in my life, Lagos does not offer that. I might not be in Ibadan forever. I'm not saying that, oh, I'm going to settle there, build my life there forever. No, I'm not saying that I'm never going to come back to Lagos as well. But I know that right now, today, I don't need to be in Lagos. I need to be outside of Lagos. I'm looking for peace of mind. I am looking for peace of mind. I'm tired of being anxious all the time. I'm tired of being scared all the time. I'm tired of how Lagos increases apathy in your life. Because every day you are constantly in the face of people suffering. You're constantly in the face of people begging, people going through very, very inhumane, undignified experiences that you are helpless towards solving. And like I said earlier, the reason why I'm a good therapist is because of the person that I am. I'm very observant, and it's very easy for me to be contaminated by other people's feelings. When I see other people suffering, I will feel your pain. I'm very empathetic. The moment you step out of your house, there are so many people costing you. Someone's asking for money, someone's asking for food, and you give so much, and at some point you kind of get tired of giving that it then turns into annoyance. And other times, you're just not in a state where you can give or support people, that you just have to then turn a blind eye to another person's suffering. That situation really does affect your mental health. Like, it also affects the way you relate to the world because you are no longer, you're desensitized to the suffering of people. I don't want to get to a point where I'm desensitized to the suffering of people. It's going to make me cold. It's going to make me, I'm going to lose empathy for people. Because now, seeing people suffering is such a normal thing. I'm not fazed by it. That's not normal. That's not healthy. For me, it's not healthy. So being constantly faced with becoming apathetic to people's suffering was just, I couldn't do it anymore. Seeing children hungry, seeing people suffering, and then also being helpless, because there's only so many people that you can support when you're seeing them every day. I just couldn't take it anymore. So I needed a place where I could be calm, that my nervous system is not constantly on edge. I'm not worried about a trailer falling on my head. I'm not experiencing noise pollution, air pollution, overpopulation, just too many people around. I wanted to be able to breathe. I wanted to be surrounded by beauty because beauty feeds the soul. And from a place when you're consuming beautiful things, you can create beautiful things. I can't create beautiful things in Lagos because everything is so ugly. Even the buildings that are coming up now, things that like Lagosians call luxury, it's ugly because what makes luxury is the detail and the attention and the craftsmanship that goes into the creation of these things. But they'll just import something from abroad and put it in your house and they'll tell you that that's luxury for you. So I was just like, just getting so desensitized to all this rubbish. And I was like, I need to go to a place where there's some class and quality and that people are willing and able to engage with you intellectually and not feel tired when you're doing it. And you're not anxious all the time. You're not anxious all the time. Lagos makes you anxious all the time. So for my own well-being, I just said, my work is remote. I don't have to go into the office except I need to. Let just leave somewhere else and work somewhere else. And thankfully, the train works fine. I don't like traveling by road. I would much rather sit on the train for 3 hours than be on the road for 1 hour, 30 minutes. So I use the train. If I have something to do today, I'll come in the morning, or I'll come the day before, do what I need to do, plan my days. The next time I need to be in the bathroom, I go back home. And I go to my house and everywhere is quiet. It's just me and a bunch of millipedes. I'm like terrified. I swear to you, I'm terrified of millipedes. So
is it cheaper?
It's cheaper. Yeah. And what I pay for a 3-bedroom apartment in Ibadan, it's going to get you a human panel in Lagos. I'm not joking.
I know. So when you talked about buildings, it took me to something that you had written, and it's so long I thought I'd be able to paraphrase, but then I just looked at my phone. So you did say, I look at buildings as manifestations of human beings, ways of being. You can tell a lot about a country, a person, or a space, the mindset, and how the community was just from the buildings. I'd like you to clarify what you meant here. And has that changed? Because the experience of Lagos and the experience of different cities and how it's evolving. The beginning I left in 2016 is different from the beginning of 2024. Mm-hmm. So how has that changed for you, the experience?
I can compare Lagos when I was growing up to Lagos of today, and which is very disappointing. And the Lagos of when I was growing up was very different. It was a bit dirtier because it's dirtier than this. But at the same time, the buildings had more character. Because people that were living here were not just focused on work, we were also trying to raise families. You had houses that had garages, you had compounds for children to play at, people had trees in their homes, you had people who had like fruits in their homes, banana, plantain, pineapple. There was more communal living that was going on in the city. So people could run around and walk around. We were not as populated as we are presently. And you could see it in the kinds of houses that people were building, also the materials they were using to build. But as Lagos became more and more of a capitalist community where people were trying to get the most money out of less things, the buildings started to change. Now, for a very, very small amount of space, we have to pay a lot of money. We have more apartments than we have homes. You can't raise a child here, that child would have a full life. Like, we climb trees, guava trees. I remember cooking in a tent. Like, you get kungo, you pour side by side and pretend like you're cooking. Only the children that are in lower middle class, working class, have that experience. If you're upper middle class, your kids don't have that experience anymore because chances are that your house does not even have space for that to happen. And those kids are being driven in cars. You come out, you go to school, you enter a car, you go back to your house, you enter the house. There's not a lot of engagement with your environment, not a lot of engagement with your surrounding, not a lot of engagement with your neighbors, because it didn't matter if we were from different socioeconomic classes. We were living together, we were playing together, we were spending time together. So Lagos has become tighter and tighter. And because of security, people now, they shut their houses more. Their gates are a lot more taller. You don't have gates that you can see through the gates into another person's compound. Those times, your gates were like either 3/4 or they had like line. So you can even see inside. Or the wall had those breeze blocks that you could see into the other person. Now, everybody's house is shut off completely from the public. So we live more isolated lives and we have more concrete structures. There are no trees. Every time they're cutting down trees, there are no shades. You can't really walk around. The pedestrian walks are now filled up with like malams having shops or people selling on the road. Because everything now in Lagos is about money. And in Lagos, if you have space, you have money. So everyone who has space is doing the best they can to capitalize on that space and make money from it. But that does not create a good life for the people. So Lagos is not a city for people to live, it's a city for people to work. And that's what's happened. When I was younger, it was a place to live. Now it's a place to work. You make your money, you get out. And if you don't have a lot of money, you can't live here because it's super expensive. Everyone, even now, agency fee now, if you rent something 1.2 million naira, they're collecting 300K agency fee. Why? Legal fee 300K. By the time you pay that entire 1.2, total package is 2 point something million naira. For the first year, for a room and parlor that's not as big as where we're recording now. So it's a testament to the time, because this time now that we're in, economy is tight. Everyone's trying to make money, everyone's trying to feed, everyone's trying to take advantage of the other person. Everyone's trying to make sure that I'm the biggest boy or biggest girl, biggest person in town. So if that's a focus, it's going to show in how you build as well. And for you to build well, you need time, you need patience, and you need research. Nobody's using time, patience, and research to build anything. Is if you tell them that this is the dollar they're making now that is in the market, maybe it's cheap or it's what the rich people are using, they'll put it in your house. That's why now people build tall buildings that they call luxury buildings. And when you look at it 2 years down the line, the world is already cracking. They will tell you that they want to go and buy expensive something. 3 years, you look behind, the mirror is already chipping. The houses are not lasting long because they're not built well. Because to build well, you need time to build well. And you need attention to that. But here, every 2 business days, like Nollywood, films are coming out every 3 business days. Houses are springing up in Lagos very quickly, but they're not being done well. And that shows where we are. Well, where negotiations are, because I'm from Oyo State. Where negotiations are at this present time. So the way people build is always going to be directed and influenced by the state of mind and the economy at the time.
Do you think this is actively affecting the way Lagos is now very work-centric, very fast-paced? It's affecting who we are as a people?
Yeah.
How so?
The anxiety is off the roof. Aren't you anxious?
For this podcast, I was.
All my women's negotiations are anxious, and they are mindlessly anxious. I swear to you, people are walking fast and rushing to nowhere. Take, for instance, you're driving down the road. If you're just driving now and you see the light is red, of course, you're going to wait, right? The moment that light turns green, you give people patience. You wait, people will move. Someone behind you already hold. Why have you not moved? When you're even in kekes, even if you're using bus now, I take the bus sometimes. When I enter Danfo, bus stop is here. They want you to jump off the bus, even if you're sitting at the back. They will not give you patience to, walk through and then come down the bus. If the conductor had the opportunity to push you out the bus. But the thing is that when they rush and they drop you off, they're just going to go and queue and wait for another hour for the people that have been there to fill up their bus or their keke before they go. So why are you rushing anywhere? So people are always in a hurry, but they're in a hurry to nowhere. And negotiations are always on edge. It just takes a little thing and fight to start. Honestly, just very little and fight to start. I lived in close to Costa Rica. When I first moved there in 2021, every week we had a fight. I'm not even joking. Every week they were breaking posts from somebody's head. It calmed down after a while. But people were always on edge. It just took very little to just take them off. And the thing is when they're even expressing their anger, it's like the anger is a lot because they get very violent. It's like they beat people up, they use sticks to hit people. I just want using a plan to hit a woman. I'm like, why? So they are just angry. And people are more manipulative now here. People are constantly trying to take advantage of you. I mean, Lagos has always been a place where they tell you, shine your eye, and if you don't get sense, if your eye don't shine, they will take advantage of you. Yes, but it has double, triple, quadruple, because it's not even just in the or the ghetto where you have to shine your light. Even when you're working with upper class, middle class, working class, you have to shine your eye everywhere because people are constantly trying to take advantage of you to make the most amount of money. If you are not taking advantage of somebody else, you're not smart. If you're not corrupt or doing something back corner to make the most amount of money or gain the most amount of power, you don't get sense. Being a good person is being an idiot in Lagos. So everyone is just trying to like take advantage one way or another. People are performing. They're performing well. They're performing success. It's not who they really are, but it's a show that we put up so that they can be accepted by other people in the community. So finding genuine friendships, genuine relationships is very difficult. And when people are isolated all the time, that sense of community isn't growing. People are not coming together to do things anymore. Rather, they are finding ways that they can isolate themselves even more. How can I get into an apartment where I don't even know who my neighbors are? And me, I don't believe in that. Anywhere I live, I know almost everyone on my street. When I was moving out, I had to tell goodbye to so many people. My Amala babe, the 3 women that buy things from across the street, my POS babe, security guard, the woman that sells food in front of my house, the person that buy egg, pharmacy people. I know I'm always like, community is important because these are people I live with. I don't just live in my house. I live on the streets. So all of us are in the streets together. But that spirit does not exist. I know people who have never met their neighbors. They come into their apartment, go downstairs, enter their car, go to work, come back, enter their car, drive into their compound, go upstairs to their house. They don't know who lives upstairs, they don't know who lives downstairs. It's empty.
Now that you put it that way, it makes me, because I remember growing up in Benin City, and it was always so we had this thing that we hated as young people because when you go in, you greet the first house, second house, till the last house. When you're coming, they'll forget that you had greeted them like 10 minutes ago. You have to greet again, and then. But when I moved to Lagos, I was like, why don't y'all need greets? You don't greet, you know. So it was one of those culture shocks for me when I moved to Lagos because a lot of people were just minding their businesses and not greeting and not trying to have conversations with the people in your community, in your environment. So I get that, but I mean that would be a broader conversation about how to navigate living in Nigeria. Because sometimes it worries me about if I really think about moving back to Benin and also engaging the work I do here in Lagos. But I mean, those are some of the conversations I would have eventually. But what I want to now, the conversation I want to now have with you is, you engage a lot of the people who are products of Lagos, who live in Lagos. The people I met at Words of Therapy, the people you meet with your work as NDD, are people who live in Lagos, who work in Lagos, who were born in Lagos. A lot of them were born in Lagos. Are there profound stories from the experiences of living in Lagos?
People don't really, because living in Lagos is such a normalized experience, people don't particularly highlight it as this is like I live in Lagos experience. It's just like it's a life experience. And one thing I try to tell people whenever they talk about Nigeria, especially Lagosians, is I need you to be specific. It's not everywhere in Nigeria that's like this. It's Lagos. There is a unique experience in Lagos, and then there is the rest of Nigeria. So whenever you're saying that Nigeria is, don't think that everywhere in Nigeria is like this. It's just Lagos. Because you need to leave Lagos to understand that Nigeria is very different and very vast. We are so different. And I'm grateful for the fact that I got a chance to live in, not many, but a few different cities. I lived in Kaduna, I lived in Enugu, I'm from Imo State, so I used to go to Umri. So I have that experience of like different cities and different Nigerians are different all over Nigeria. Like Lagos is not Nigeria. So sometimes Lagosians, when you live here for a very long time, Lagos keeps you here. It's like a drug. It's like a toxic relationship where you just can't leave no matter how much you try. Lagos sucks you in and keeps you here and makes you think and feel that there is no way you can have a life outside of Lagos. So it becomes your whole world. Lagos consumes you. And when it does that, it's very easy for you to think that whatever is happening in Nigeria is Lagos. Like Lagos is not Nigeria. Lagos is Lagos. And then there is the rest of Nigeria. So when people that are from here talk to me about what they're dealing with, they don't know that the problems they're having are peculiar to where we are living until they leave Lagos. When they now go to somewhere like Abuja, which is where people were moving to, when Japa first started, people were either living in the country or they were moving to Abuja. When they then moved to Abuja, that's when they now realized, like, oh, it's actually just Lagos. It's not all of Nigeria. Everywhere else in Nigeria is calm. Lagos is a unique place with so unique energy. So when I'm here and I talk to people here, we just navigate the anxiety of living in Lagos. And I try to also let them know that for you to maintain your mental health, you have to leave Lagos. You'll be so surprised about how much staying here affects you. It's such a stressful experience. Anytime I go to Ibadan, I come back, the difference in my life. I feel better, even just breathing. I remember my friend and I went and we were talking about skincare, and she was like, well, when I'm in Lagos, I have to use a toner that's really gonna clean my skin because my skin is so dirty. When I'm in Ibadan, it's different. Hair's not polluted. When she's in Ibadan, she doesn't shower with hot water. She showers with cold water. When she's in Lagos, she showers with hot water. And I asked her about it. She's like, well, when I'm in Ibadan, I don't feel the need to use hot water. I just want to cool down. I feel comfortable. But in Lagos, it's just something about I just want to have a hot bath. It's just I don't know what it does to our body. It's a unique experience. But Lagos has a way that affects your mind. And if you want to maintain your sanity in Nigeria and you're living in Lagos, please leave Lagos. Even if it's just a weekend trip. You don't even have to go far. Get an Airbnb or a cheap hotel in Abeokuta. Go there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back. Wonderful. Even just taking the train ride, I say do a day trip. Go on the train. All you need is 20K. Standard is 3,800. You can book online. Buy your tickets. If you want first class, 9,000 naira one way. Enter first class. Even just that train ride alone. Take the train to Abeokuta or take the train to Ibadan. Come off at Monia. Go to Agodi Garden. Walk around. Buy banana. Eat. 3 o'clock. Come back to Monia. Enter the train. Come back to Lagos. You would feel like there are problems in life, but it's not that serious. Lagos does not help your mental health. And staying here consistently for too long without breaks is not good for your mind. You need to also remove yourself from that space so that you can have this illusion of I'm leaving my problems behind so that you can have the clarity of mind. And there's something about being in Ibadan. It doesn't have a lot of high-rise buildings. Here, there are a lot of high-rise buildings. So when you're there, everything is just wide and open. That's the same way your mind feels. It just feels open, like your head can breathe. You're not constricted to these very small spaces that we are told to navigate and live our life. These boxes that we call houses in Lagos. Leave Lagos. You don't have to jump back to
It feels like a warning.
Yes. Honestly, I leave Lagos. They know what they're doing. Every December they go back home. It's not just because they want to go and show off for the family. Sometimes you have to go home and go and eat at work. Sometimes you have to go home and see red sand, drink water from the stream, see trees, feel Hamatan for what it is. Because there is more to being human than money. There is so much more to life than the luxury that life can offer you. It's not a meaningful life because there are so many wealthy people that are incredibly unhappy. You don't need so much as a human being to live a fulfilling life. It's when you have so much, you start to create new problems and new needs for yourself. You have a mirror, you want a bigger one. The mirror you have works just fine. Why do you need a bigger mirror? You have 10 pairs of jeans, you want to buy more because you're releasing new one. Why? Every time iPhone brings out a new version you want to buy, the old one is still working fine. You create new needs for yourself when you have a lot of resources. You don't need that much. So when you have enough, allow yourself to travel. Go see other things. See what else is happening outside of the space that you're in. Find out what else it means to be Nigerian. To be Nigerian is not a negotiation. To be Nigerian is to be multi-ethnic. You are living with so much culture. Find it. Don't restrict yourself to Keja or Lekki.
Don't restrict yourself to Keja or Lekki. So I'm very excited about how this has gone, but then I really want to also explore how you've been able to, mostly in Lagos, been able to also build. Because a lot of us in Lagos, when we move to Lagos, we come with the mindset of building. I do have a friend who moved from Ghana who's building stuff in Lagos as well, in film. So I think that Lagos is that space that you're building and all of that. So how were you able to build the photography side of it? Because you have a big life in photography, and then you also have a big life with NDD. How do they intersect? How are you able to navigate both? And can we replicate?
Honestly, I don't recommend really, because it's not always an easy life. Something has to suffer. There was a period for 5 years where I wasn't doing photography. Yeah, I had to put photography on the side because I needed to grow in. So from 2019 to 2023, I did not do anything photography related. I wasn't shooting. I was reading. Because I wouldn't let my mind fall apart. So I was reading, I was still going for exhibitions, I was supporting my friends, I was still very present in the art scene, and I was keeping my social contacts as well. I was focusing on educating myself and creating work, but I spent that time just building Ndidi because Ndidi is where I eat, and photography is like where I live. It's the one place where I'm free to be. I don't worry about anything. I think, I create. It's like my creative, and I don't want to hamper it down with the burden of I need to make money from it, So I said, okay, fine. If Indeed is going to be my source of income, I needed it to get to a point where it did not need me so much for it to survive. So I dedicated 2019, 2020, 21, 22 to building Ndidi, like hiring the right type of people to work, making sure the foundation was strong, having the right structure, and then slowly I started to pull away. So as each year went by and I had staff, I was stepping away from the business. I remember this year, I took 3 months of therapy. I was not giving therapy to anybody. And I was scared for a bit because I was like, how's my business going to survive? But it was the most miraculous thing and the most amazing thing. I learned something very important from that in business, that you can be strategic with loss. Because during that time when we were working, we're making losses, financial losses. We're not making money because, of course, I'm one of the biggest earners in the business. So if I'm not earning money, how is the business going to flow? But what that did for me was that since the attention wasn't focused on me, I was able to see other ways that we could diversify our income and then strengthen other people's voices so that I'm not, Ndidi is not Amanda. Ndidi is Ndidi. And then Amanda is Amanda. I just happened to found it, but it exists as itself. So I grew the business to a point where it didn't need me so much and I was able to free up time. I wasn't working every day. I cut down my hours. There were periods where I worked Sunday to Sunday. I was doing therapy all the time because I lived in this fear of that if I didn't work, we're not going to eat. So taking that 3 months was a risk, but it was a wonderful risk because coincidentally, the business is doing way better than it ever did before. We're making more money now. And I was like, wow, I'm not even putting in that much work, but we're still financially viable and we're growing and we're expanding. We're hiring more people into the practice. So it really taught me that taking a step back is beautiful for business. As a founder, you need to know when to step away from the business. And you also need to make sure you hire the right people so that when you step away, your business can still survive without you. It's led with shame a couple of times, but then you're able to do other things. And it's because of that risk I took that I have the leeway to move my life to a different city and that I can now really seriously start thinking about going back to get my doctorate now for school because it doesn't need me. If as we hire more people, I step more away from the business. Like I don't need to work with everybody anymore. We now have other people who know how to handle things. And we have a very strong foundation, a strong value system, a strong company dynamic. Like I believe in my team so much that if I bring somebody new, I know they will take care of them and they onboard them into the value system that we have going on. So if you want to run two things, you need to know what you're doing. Using my calendar has also been very helpful. So on my calendar, I have time slots for everything. So I know I have an hour where I dedicate to photography, an hour I dedicate to DD, another 2 hours. So I'm always working on both things at the same time. I have my email for my photography, I have my email for, Google can allow you to split your accounts and have two different screens. So I'm always sliding in between the two of them. I make out time to deal with this, I make out time to deal with the other one. If I have to shoot, I have to plan well, when am I going to go shoot now? And I don't take too much commercial work, which has helped. So my work as a photographer is not just about documenting buildings, but it is also about doing research. So I'm reading as well, trying to get more into writing my work. And now I'm very passionate about artist education. So I'm hosting classes. I recently did a class where I was teaching artists how to create a portfolio. So we had like two cohorts. We had one in August, another one in September. During my residency, I had an art and research workshop where I was teaching artists about artistic research. And then I had this other venture where I did a photographer studio visits where I had like 4 photographers come in and talk about their careers and what exactly focus on. So my work as an artist is not just so much about me and being able to create work. It's also about supporting artists as well, which is I'm very passionate about. Making sure that they have the right structure to grow their career. So those are the things. And then research. I love research so much. So I'm just like, yeah, this is perfect time for me to go back and do my PhD. So I'm just go back, take this energy of research and put it into my work. So it's planning, it's organization, it's willing to make a sacrifice for both of them to be able to work. And don't play with your time. Don't play with your time. Your time is very, very important. I don't play with my time. I'm always very like, okay, what time? When am I doing this? Because we have conversations about time for this. So I'm scheduling. I know everything I am doing. And if someone asks me, what were you last week? My calendar will tell you, because every day, everything I'm doing, it is planned out. It's planned out. So it takes time to get to that point where you need a lot of discipline to be able to do it. But I wouldn't advise to anyone who is ready to take up that burden.
So for you, what are your aspirations in photography, architecture, mental health?
So my aspirations for NDD, I want to get my doctorate. I want to leave NDD because I want it to exist outside of me. I wasn't creating something that I was going to be in forever. I remember when I started in 2017, I did tell myself that I give myself 7 years to do this and then I'm out. And my 7th year was this year.
Whoa.
Yeah, this was my 7th year of running NDD. And that was why it was very important for me to step away for those 3 months to see where I've gotten to as well. So by my 10th year, which would be by 3 years from now, 2027, I want to be able to say that whilst I may not have fully stepped away from the business, like the amount of responsibilities I have significantly reduced. I don't think I'm ever going to stop seeing clients. I truly enjoy that. But I'm just going to see fewer people. So be very intentional about the clients I'm working with. I want Indigi to get to a point where we actually have a building and that it's not just one where you have like a hospital. Like I said, I'm very passionate about research and development, and I want to be able to have people who want to practice, to have a place where they can come and study and practice and then go out. And I want to have like seminars where we can talk about the research you do in your doctorate degree, in your master's degree, and how that in turn informs the practice that you're doing. So I always wanted to have a research institute. That's one thing I've always wanted to have. So I want Indidi to develop into that. Of course, we'll have the clinical arm, but that research part of it is something that I'm very passionate about. Then for my photography, the same thing. I want to have an institute that is very focused on artist education, but more about African artist education, teaching African artists about African artists. Because as an artist, a lot of the inspiration we get is always from the West. We're always looking at European artists or Western artists, but there's so much knowledge here that we're not tapping into and we're not aware of, because I realized this year that knowledge exists in books, but all of us are looking at our phones. So I want to bring us back to reading, because artistic research informs the work that you create. And why are we drawing inspiration from the West when we haven't even drawn inspiration from the North? We haven't drawn inspiration from the Southwest. We haven't drawn inspiration from Calabar. You haven't drawn inspiration from the East. There's so much knowledge there that you haven't tapped into to feel the work that you're doing. So I want artists to learn about that. So for me, like when I remember when I started to do, I was telling my friend that the dream I had was having this center built with the design of the Guggenheim in New York, There was a research institute on top of a hill in Ibadan. And this was before I thought about moving to Ibadan. This was 2017. It's going to be on top of a hill in Ibadan, and I'll be on the rooftop of that building, just overlooking the city. And in that moment, I'd know that I've made it. Like that's my moment. Like, yeah, I have this. It is research development, whether it's for art, whether it's for psychology, that research work, I wanted to have that. And it was Ibadan I wanted to do it in. Now, that's not the mindset why I moved, though. It was just a dream in 2017. But if anyone asks, like, what would be your crowning moment? That would be my crowning moment. Yeah.
I do hope that the people in the government, when they see this, they'll be like, oh my God, she's celebrating Ibadan. We need to support Ibadan.
Oh, I love that place. They are so, like, the amount of institutes in that place, is the IITA, is it the NSRI? Like, there are so many research institutes in Ibadan, and it's not too hard to find an intellectual you want to have a conversation with. Like, so I'm just like, yeah, these are my people that like book. That's where I'm going. Yeah.
How do you think for us a lot of us who are building, a lot of artists who are creating new stuff, how can we, which is one of the reasons why we started this podcast, because we wanted to create a podcast that beyond all the noise, like when I reached out to some of the guests, they were like, oh my God, a podcast, I don't want any scandal. So, but then for us, we wanted to spotlight like good stories coming out from Nigeria, people doing great stuff from Nigeria.
Yeah.
So how can we get to a point where while we are creating as artists or people or founders, we're also using our platforms as a form of healing for the people that engage the work and the things that we create?
When you're starting your business, don't play with it. Be very clear about it. What is your mission? What is your vision? And what are your values? And if you want people to learn and grow from what you're creating, you need to impute that into your value system from the beginning, not midway, not when you're at the top, because it's very difficult to create health when you have already succeeded. Because when you've already gotten to the top, or when you've already created a structure over the years, you're already formed that way. Your business is already formed on that. So it can be difficult for you to now start changing your dynamic and your strategy. So if you want a healthy work environment where people can learn from it, they can grow from it, that's not toxic, you must start from the beginning. You must make sure that these values are practiced. And don't say, I'm putting it there for my staff to practice. You have to be the example for it. One of the things I use whenever people ask me this question is rest. When I first started in Didi, one of the things that I tried to achieve, God, I say one of the things a lot too. So a thing I wanted to achieve, was a thing that was very annoying for me in Nigerian work environment, was how unhealthy it was, because people thought that the best way to get the best out of people was to squeeze them dry. So take them for everything that they are worth. Use all of their time. There's no need for rest. There's no need for a break. Why are you going on leave? They don't think that it's possible to be productive from a healthy place. They think that you have to suffer to work well. I didn't believe that. I still don't believe that. I think that you can create magnificent work from a healthy environment. You don't have to die to be able to do good things. You can do that. You can do good things, and your staff can go on leave and they can be healthy. It's not so much about always giving them money all the time. Sometimes it's just being able to respect their boundaries and respect that I'm resting. So when I started my practice, it was one of the things I told myself, that whoever's going to work here with me, I need them to know that their time is important. We have a contract. It says 9 to 5. It is 9 to 5. I'm not going to then say that because you're working with me, I own your life. I don't own your life. Your job is just a part of your life. It is not your entire life. And I had to practice that as a person. And by practicing it was the best way I was able to then allow my staff, or even teach them, that that was also a way that you can work. So now people get time off. You get time off every month. You choose your leave days every month when you want to get time off. And when you're on time off, if you tell me, oh, Amanda, today's my leave day, I'll say, okay, no problem. I'll hang up the phone. I won't call you. If I send you a message, I'm just like, no. Oh, it's your leave day, don't answer. You have to be the one to tell me that you want to break your leave day. If it's your leave day, please go off on leave. If my staff calls me and says, well, Amanda, I'm sick, please take a sick leave day off. Why are you working when you're supposed to be resting? I don't get the best version of you when you are unhappy. tired, exhausted, and not focused because you make mistakes. But dealing with human lives, you're not going to enjoy your job. And I'm not going to get my money's worth. So I believe that you give me the best version of yourself when other aspects of your life are doing well. So because of that, I always try to make sure that my staff is well. I need them to be happy. I need them to be content because that's how I can retain them and that's how they can grow and then the business can grow. I don't want to work with people who are unhappy and unhealthy. That's not good. And it doesn't look good for me as well because how my mental health space and then my staff is not mentally stable. It's a conflict of business interest. So if you want to build a business that people are going to learn from and be like, I'm so inspired by this and, we're doing the best we can and everyone is healthy and happy, you have to live it. You have to walk it. You have to make sure that you inculcate it into the value system and practice it. So when I first started, hiring staff. I remember one of my staff members that when she was on leave, she just be like, she's not available. She won't show up for me. So she won't do it, literally. And a part of me was just like, well, I'm always here at 1 a.m. I'm working all the time. And why isn't she available? I was saying this in my mind, but I had to remind myself that, Amanda, there's a culture you're trying to create and she's teaching you. Listen. So I started to respect her boundaries. Okay, Amanda, I'm on leave. She's not going to be reachable. And I'm not upset about it. And rather than fighting against it, I adopted it. And then I made it necessary that everybody now works that way. So if someone says I'm on leave, I make sure everyone respects the fact that they're on leave. This person is on leave. They're not working today. They're not working today. Don't text them. Don't call them. If I look at your calendar and I see that this is when you're supposed to be on leave, don't book a session. Don't do that. If you're going to use your time, they have to call you and seek your permission to use your free time. Your free time is your free time. And so that when it's your work time and you're not doing well, I can hold your neck because, it's a give and take. So I feel much more allowed to ask for what I'm asking for because I'm giving you what you're asking for. So I try to respect my staff and their boundaries a lot. And it means so much. My staff means so much to me. They mean so much to me. So if you really want to create a healthy space, you have to live that. And everything starts from the founder, not just the staff. If you don't create that culture early on, it'd be difficult to put that in. But if you're already in it and you want it to become a part of your structure, you have to start first, not your team. You have to be the one to live it. You can't be expecting your team to change. Sometimes some companies will call me in and say, oh, come and talk to my team about stress management. But the problem is them. So the team would want to do things for themselves to manage stress, but the boss doesn't want to change. So how is it that you're at the top, you don't want to change, but you want every other person who answers to you to change? You're in charge of the system. If they say, oh, I'm not feeling well today, I'm going to take a wellness break, and you're telling them, no, you can't do that, then what's the point of bringing Amanda in? I'm not going to fix a problem that you're causing if you don't want to fix yourself up. So you have to start with yourself first as the founder to create a healthy system that other people do. I don't expect my staff to live the life I live. Just because I'm the director and I'm working to 1 a.m., please don't be working to 1 a.m. One thing I realized was that when I send emails, because I'm working late at night and I'll send an email at 12, they will not be replying me at 12. And I'm just like, why are you replying my emails at 12? You're supposed to be sleeping. So what I started doing now is I'll be working at 12, but I schedule the emails to go out at 8 a.m. So everyone just, and especially if it's on Friday, on the weekends, if I'm working on the weekends, I'm scheduling my emails to go out on Monday because I don't want you on your laptop when you're supposed to be having a good time with your family. That's not what Indeed is about. We're not about working overtime. I'm not going to pay you for overtime. So work within your working hours and rest when you're supposed to. And the more I do it, the more they follow. So I'm hoping now that as we're hiring staff and my primary staff members are now becoming managers, that they're able to transfer that same habit to their staff. So start with you first. Start with your value system. Start with your mission and your vision statement.
I love it. That's such a beautiful place to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Amanda,
Thank you for having me.
Gracing us.
I did try.
And for having this conversation with us.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing me as a person and not asking me, so how do you take care of your mental health? I don't tire. You don't ask me that question, die for this life. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Even when my clients reach out to me and just say, oh, Amanda, I just want to know how you're doing. That's all. It means so much because it's easy to get dehumanized when you're a service provider. People only think about the service you provide. But when people recognize you as a person, like, okay, yeah, there's so much more to me than just being a therapist, I'm very grateful for that. That's why I really want that future award. So people can know that I'm not just a person who does mental health. I'm a businesswoman and I'm a leader too. So, hey, I'm a leader. So, yes, you can learn from me.
Thank you so much. We've learned a lot
Thank you.
through this conversation. So thank you
so
very much.
I appreciate that.
Boy, oh boy, I think I'll be moving to Ibadan because Amanda is like the official ambassador for Ibadan. And I mean, we had a really, really good chat. I know you enjoyed it. Please engage, subscribe, comment, like, and share. We are the Good News Niger podcast. And my name is Desmond Ebua Ikunwe.